I just got an oil change in Newport, Oregon, next to Walmart, and a car wash. Of course, the car wash only lasts about 5 minutes around here with the salt air. I only get a car wash to it's only $2 here, just to so I can see out my windows, get the salt off. And I got the Valvoline oil change there. Those guys are good. I highly recommend the oil change place in Newport. They always know what they're doing really good. We live in a strange society. There's a person walking. There's a person back there begging for money. There's a person begging for money at a bus stop. Right next to him's a guy in a $90,000 truck. And then there's 4 people buying tacos at the Taco Bell at the drive-thru. We live in the most diverse society in the history of the world. You couldn't get more diverse than we have now. No. Usually throughout society, throughout history, you know, there wasn't that much to do. Peoples did the same as everybody else. I mean, you know, most places were small villages. There was only 3 or 4 things to do, you know. Mostly it was work. In today's society, the person begging for money still has a place to live, still has food, clothing. The person waiting for the bus stop still has all those things. The guy in the $90,000 truck still has all those things. The people at Taco Bell still have all those things. Never in history has so many different types of people been able to do so many different types of things and still all have food, water, shelter, a place to sleep, money, clothing. You don't see anybody walking around naked, do you? No. Well, not unless you go to California. Or Portland. Portland, yeah, they got that there. Might be a couple people in San Francisco walking around naked right now, trying to start a protest against the world, you know. But in general, not a lot of naked people. And as much as they want you to believe that there's people out there starving, if there were people starving to death, it would be on the news every single day. It's not on the news, is it? You don't see it, do you? $40. Bumblebee tuna. Bumblebee tuna underpants. Driving in my car, I turn on the radio. I'm holding you close. Remember that old skit? Elmer Fudd singing Fire? Well, anyways, life costs money. %of Americans have to work to get the money. But they don't. I mean, we don't have a 90% employment rate, no. You say, of course we do. Unemployment's only 4.5%. No. Only about 55% of all the people in the United States work. And I'm talking 16 or older. You can look it up. 45% of Americans over 16 don't even work. So I was saying, you don't hear on the news people starving to death. No, they die of alcoholism, they die of a disease, they die of drug overdose, but they don't die of starvation and they don't die naked. Everyone has food and clothing, even if you have to get it free from the government or a church or the local food bank or your mom or your grandma or someone who has taken compassion on you. I'm not saying good or bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply stating a fact. I don't take sides. I don't say, good or bad. I'm a Christian. I go by what the Bible says. I mean, the Bible's very clear. If you don't work, you're not going to have a lot in this world. The Bible made it that way. Since Adam and Eve, the fall in the garden, eating from the forbidden tree, God says, by the sweat of your brow, you shall earn your food. You shall eat your food. Well, if people don't want to sweat of their brow, then they don't get food unless somebody else gives it to them. But the point I'm making is, in other countries, people are starving to death. They are willing to work 100 hours a week to get food. There is no work and there is no food, and they're being bombed daily. Or like on the African continent, the drug lord, the local drug lord goes and kills everybody in the village. That's a Christian. You don't hear any of these stories on the news. You hear all the bad stories about Donald Trump. Now think about it. I think the news media is really, really missing a great opportunity in this world. And that is, if they stop talking about Trump day and night, if they stop talking about Donald Trump day and night, they could have time for other stories, that what's actually happening in the world, but that would cost them a lot of money. And they would have to send people to those countries to get the stories and put the people in danger. You have to understand, when they come up with a story about Donald Trump, it doesn't cost them any money to get that story. They may have paid another news organization $1,000 for the story. When they say a big, like let me put it this way. Here on the Oregon coast, if you look up Oregon coast stories, like travel stories, not news stories, travel stories, they have about 50 people who have the exact same stories every year about the Oregon coast, and then they buy the story, they change like 10% of the wording, call it their own story, and they get paid for those stories. That's how you make a living as a writer doing travel stories in the world today. And I know because I live here, and 50% of the information in every story is wrong. I had to laugh. I live in Florence, Oregon, on the coast. There was a story about why it was the 7 best reasons to live in Florence, Oregon. Okay. And about a month later, they had a story, 7 reasons why you would never want to live in Florence, Oregon. And I guarantee the people who put those stories out and they got paid and it was picked up on the internet and someone paid them, it might have helped if that old guy used his blinker in his $112,000 truck. But anyways, the people who got paid to put those stories out, now I didn't look for these stories, they just come up on the internet whether you want them to or not. They've never been to Florence, Oregon. I've had people say to me, well, Dave, you should write stories about the Oregon coast, truthful stories. No. First of all, I don't even have time to do that. Secondly, I don't need the money. Thirdly, you don't make that much money. Thirdly, they're not looking for the stories I would write. I would start writing stories like, okay, if you go down 5th and Elm in so-and-so small town, you go through the alley and you go around, there's a guy named Bob, and you talk to Bob, and he'll let you in this old building. And you can go in there and see all the 1890s artwork that nobody sees unless you talk to Bob. Give him $5 for lunch. That's the kind of stories I would write. And you may be like those stories. But the people selling the stories don't want to write the stories. I mean, they don't want to publish those because of the lawyers, the legal schmeagle. So I just laugh. I'll let this cab guy out. He's working for a living. Or it was a woman.